So we are nearly at the finish line for the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2. And I feel like most of us have a really good grasp of what this system is capable of, what this system is doing, how this system differs from the original, the software, the controllers, and stuff like that. Now, yes, there was quite a bit of confusion when Nintendo first dumped all of this stuff onto us about a month or so ago. But as time has gone on, we've figured things out. There's been clarifications on things. And I feel like most of us have a very solid idea of what the Nintendo Switch 2 is indeed all about and how you're going to play your games on it. Except for one thing. There is one lingering mystery that has not been solved, hasn't really been talked about since it was first introduced as a thing. And I am just kind of perplexed by this because I feel like this is something worth having a discussion about. It's something worth trying to figure out. So that's what I want to do in today's video. See if we can kind of figure out something with this Nintendo Switch 2 feature and how it's going to be used with your original Nintendo Switch 1 game. So if this is your first time on the channel, hit that subscribe button if you like mediocre video game content. But I, of course, am talking about the upgrade path for Nintendo Switch 1 games on the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, we have learned that there are multiple types of upgrade paths, and I feel like Nintendo did a decent job of explaining kind of all of the different types of upgrade paths. Now, of course, you have games like Kirby and, of course, Super Mario Country Bear Jamboree. These are kind of considered to be the top tier upgrades for Switch 1 games on the Switch 2. They do things like increase performance. They add in new content. In terms of Kirby, there's new story content for the Forgotten Worlds, and I mean, that is a really good game, so, you know, I'm kind of glad to see that. It did have some performance issues as well, so I am glad to see that, although that $20 price point may be a bit unattractive for people who already own the game. Then, of course, with Super Mario Country Bear Jamboree, they're adding in like Switch 2 specific features and new game modes and stuff like that. Voice chat, camera mini games if you decide to pick up one of those Switch 2 Nintendo cameras. That, of course, has gone up in price because, you know, reasons. But this is something that I feel like maybe initially was kind of a bit unclear, but as time has gone on, they have done a decent enough job of kind of clarifying things. Then, of course, you have the other upgrade path that costs money with the $10 upgrades. Now, the $10 upgrades were introduced with games like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and probably by extension, Metroid Prime 4. Now, the Zelda games, I mean, they're getting, you know, 60 frames per second. They're getting better textures. They're getting better lighting with HDR. They're getting better resolutions and frame rates and stuff like that. Like, they definitely look like a much smoother experience compared to a little bit of the jankiness that could be found in those Zelda games on the Nintendo Switch 1. Of course, with Metroid Prime 4, we're introduced to a whole plethora of graphical options, such as up to 4K 60 or 1080p, 120 hertz per second in terms of your gameplay experience. There is also mouse support for the Nintendo Switch 2 version of the game, and these all look like they're going to be the $10 upgrade paths. Now, of course, if you have Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, you do get the Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild upgrades included into that, so there is a bit of cost savings if you do have the subscription service. We're unsure about Metroid Prime 4, but I feel like more than likely it's either going to be the $10 upgrade over the Switch 1 version, or even potentially included with the Switch Online expansion pack, because I mean, you know, Metroid doesn't sell all that great to begin with. Don't get mad at me. Get mad at yourselves for that being the truth. But then we get back to the mystery. We get back to the weird thing, because Nintendo also told us that there were going to be free upgrades for certain Nintendo Switch 1 games on the Nintendo Switch 2. And they gave us a list of games that were going to be free upgrades. And I'm kind of like, Well, what are these upgrades? We kind of have a baseline with these other games that have already been confirmed to be having paid upgrades to kind of sort of justify what is going to be in these free upgrades. But even when you look at some of these games, like, it just gets very confusing to me. So, we have the official website of Nintendo, and literally, this is the only information that we have. There has been no follow-ups, no clarification, no treehouse presentations showcasing this stuff. We have a little bit of text and then a bunch of different games. And kind of when you look at the games, like, it gets even a little bit more confusing, I feel. So these are free updates to improve playability on the Nintendo Switch 2 system. By connecting your Switch 2 to the internet, you can download free updates that may improve performance or add features such as game share in select games. The contents of these free games or these free updates will differ depending on the game. So there's not even a baseline for this as far as what to expect. Now, I think I could kind of differentiate which games are probably going to have game share and which games are probably going to have performance upgrades. Because when you look at the games, like, it is kind of all over the place here. So you have ARMS, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, Super Mario Odyssey, which, they really should have done a $20 upgrade for that. Like, why are you doing Kirby over that? Like, I get it. Kirby's a great game. But if you would have given me more content for Super Mario Odyssey, I would have really enjoyed that. Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, Clubhouse games, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, Game Builder Garage, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and Big Brain Academy Brain versus Brain. So there are some games that stick out like a sore thumb with this. I mean, just right off the jump here. And I think these are the games that are going to be of the game share variety, as far as, that's all they're adding into it is just game share so that you can share it with another Nintendo Switch 2 system based on just one copy of the game. And that, of course, is Clubhouse games, maybe Game Garage Builder, and Brain Age or Big Brain Academy Brain versus Brain, because nobody's playing Clubhouse game 51 Worldwide Classics and thinking to themselves, well, damn, this game would be a lot better at like 1080p 60. Like, I really need that sort of graphical upgrade to play Mojang and Backgammon and Connect 4. Like, I think that is clearly going to be a game share game. Game Builder Garage, I'm kind of surprised that they're even still supporting this, considering, like, this was kind of a one and done thing. And I feel like the community of game developers and whatnot kind of maxed everything out within 5 months of what you could do with Game Builder Garage as far as the technical limitations are concerned. So, whatever. Big Brain Academy, nobody bought that anyways. And then you have the other games, which are definitely more game-related things like ARMS, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, Odyssey, 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, Link's Awakening, Echoes of Wisdom, and the Pokemon games. Now, what's interesting about these upgrades is, let's just assume, because I think it's safe to assume with this, that these are going to be the performance-based updates on these games. And when you kind of think about it, it's like, well, what does that actually entail? Because we can already kind of differentiate something where it's like, if you put there's still a lot of people that think if you put a Switch 1 version of a game into a Switch 2, it's automatically going to be enhanced on the Switch 2. It'll automatically run better by things like brute force. But I think these free upgrades that are specifying to improve playability and to potentially improve performance on things kind of negates that, because if that was the case, why would you be doing these free upgrades to begin with? I think the biggest question that comes from this, though, is just what is the level of upgrade? And maybe we could kind of deduce something from what we already know about paid upgrades that have been announced. When you look at something like Tears of the Kingdom, 4K, HDR, all that sort of stuff, maybe this is more so based on things like frame rate instead of resolution, or maybe it is, frame rate and resolution, but there's not things like HDR lighting and stuff like that being included, kind of like an a la carte thing. which in and of itself is kind of weird because some of these games I feel like would benefit from a more substantial, Switch 2 upgrade. Like, the Link's Awakening and Echoes of Wisdom, like there were some frame rate problems within those games. Games like, New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe. What the hell are you gonna do in that game? Like, that game already looks and plays as good as it possibly can, or possibly should, or possibly, even needs to. Like, it's not like people played that game that was a Wii U game and were like, damn it, I need 4K visuals on. Like, I need some HDR lighting on this. Like, no, the Switch version is the definitive version of a mediocre 2D Mario game. I know that's going to catch me heat, but I just don't think it's that good of a game. Like, it's fine. It's serviceable. And then you have Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which should be burned to the ground and reworked completely for the Nintendo Switch 2, with things like new content, with things like, improved frame rate, improved textures. Like, rework the textures on this whole thing, improve everything when it comes to the, presentation of the game, because that game was a buggy, ugly mess. And it still kind of is. The DLC is even like running worse than the baseline game did. So I don't know. Like, I don't know. This is very strange to me. Because are these going to, and I guess the bigger question that kind of remains from this is, are these going to be like the only games that are supported? Because it says for select Nintendo Switch games. And if you notice, all of these games have first-party implications on them. Will there be any third-party games or second-party games? A game like Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity, arguably the Nintendo Switch game that needs a Switch 2 patch because it runs like absolute dog shit. Unplayable at times, to the point of where I did not finish that game, and I've beaten all the Zelda games. I couldn't finish that, though, because it was that bad. It was that chuggy. So will we see more free upgrades? And what are these free upgrades going to entail? Do you think it's going to be a situation where it's like, these are the only things? Do you still think that popping in a Nintendo Switch 1 game into a Nintendo Switch 2 is automatically going to make it a more polished and better performing experience? Because I think we kind of have proof that that's not going to be the case. Like, it just doesn't seem like that is going to be how things work with this. And, do you need that higher resolution on Clubhouse games? 51 worldwide classics. Are you a big Mojang fan? I remember, like, when I was a little kid, like, I would see Mojang and Othello, and I'd be like, oh man, these sound so cool. And then you'd play it and you'd be like, what is going on here? Why is this a video game? But if it's included in 51 worldwide classics, they are from different regions and stuff like that. So I will let it slide. But let me know in the comments section, what do you think about these? Do you have any theories for these free upgrades, how they're going to work, what they're going to do in specific games? And more importantly, is this the first batch of more to come, or is this kind of a one and done thing? Because I don't know that we have the answer to that either. And it seems like this is the one thing that nobody really knows. Nobody really knows. There is no definitive answer. There has been no clarification. There has been no statement from Nintendo. It's a wait and see thing. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Hit the bell notification as well. Go Knicks! Let's go and make it 2-0 in the Temu Garden. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.